Welcome to Your Last Potato, the podcast where we explore how to grow your skills, navigate challenges, and thrive in your professional journey. Inspired by the Swedish expression, du har satt din sista potatis, meaning you have planted your last potato. This podcast is all about making deliberate, meaningful moves in your career and life. I'm your host, Abda Rothman, and today we're diving into a topic that resonates deeply with so many women, unapologetic confidence. And who better to discuss this with than my guest today, Randa Ahmad. Welcome, Randa. Thank you for joining.
Abda, I'm excited about this.
Together with you, I think that we will uncover how to own your power unapologetically and make confidence your superpower, especially considering your experiences and your professional journey. I'm super excited to talk about this subject with you. First things first, though, I would love to hear a little bit about yourself and your journey so far.
Okay, so you built it up like I've got all the answers, but I should start by saying I'm still searching for my potato.
Well, you have loads of potatoes. It's where to plant them.
That's it. I think what I've learned, to be honest with you, after all of these years, it's a learning curve that just keeps curving. Without giving up the secret to the youth fountain, I have over 27 years experience in a number of fields, the majority of which is in the water sector, and that is water treatment, wastewater treatment. When you open the tap in your home, clean water comes out. In terms of wastewater, I leave it to your imagination, but it's building the infrastructure around cities, towns, villages, our modern day urban water treatment.
And these are like sizable organizations, right? I mean, it's such a simple thing, turning on the tap, but behind it, the resources, the people, and also the knowledge. So I guess you work with a lot of engineers.
That's right. It's a massive operation. And if you consider, for example, there is one treatment plant in London, supplies water to over 300,000 residents. So you could just imagine the resources that go into ensuring safe, clean water comes out of those taps. And you're absolutely right. I work with a lot of engineers, but I'm not an engineer myself, but I managed to break into the industry. And it aligns with the subject matter that we're discussing. Actually, thanks to a leader in the company that I joined, felt that in order to run these complex capital projects, you need different personalities and a different skill set and people, who can bring in different insights, different perspectives, different behaviors. Someone who's a non-engineer can come in and shake things up a little bit. So my discipline, what I studied is management. Along my career, I worked in the field of managing business, running business operations. And this is from contact with the supply chain to public contact. It's all about problem solving, issue resolution, customer care, customer contact, things like finance, managing accounts, resolving disputes, and then culminated all of that into project management and, of course, team leadership, all of that in running an operation. And I went into the project management perspective. I realized very quickly, it's like building your own business, working with people and building a team. Running a project is exactly the same. Now I deal with complex international procurement projects, and it's all to do with building water infrastructure around the world, based in Saudi Arabia.
Impressive.
So I deal with all the interesting stuff that comes along with meeting different people.
Yes, but also, dare I say, sounds like a very male-dominated environment that you work in.
Yes, the industry is male-dominated with a handful of women. The key people who have helped me elevate my career had been males. In my career, my personal career, my perspective, it's been more difficult to find women that empowered me, which is quite interesting.
Why do you think that is?
I look at it from the perspective of the rule of averages, because the industry that I spent most of my time in was male-dominated. So by default, it's natural that I will find more men who might give me time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But having said that, one of my very, very first jobs that got me into the field of managing people and starting to explore that side, those skills that I had, is it started off with a male manager. and I was very young, and he saw a set of skills that he felt are really important skills to manage people, but I didn't see it. So I didn't want to go for the job. And then the lady whom I was reporting to at the time, she was also quite young. She insisted and she did all she can to empower me to give that job a go, because she really felt that I am quite naturally a leader. If it weren't for her and the gentleman, my previous boss, I wouldn't have pursued this line of work probably, because I was more into the art and design and I want to be an artist and so on. After that, I came across a colleague who happened to have a background from consulting, and he said, well, why don't you top hands-on practical experience with a degree in management? So it happened to just be a guy. And then on and on and on it went, thinking about what could be the issue when there is a number of women, because maybe we are competing for what we think is a small set of opportunities. We end up competing with each other as opposed to empowering each other. But I feel if we turn that around on its head, we may get further in our career.
That absolutely makes sense. Just from looking at my recent experiences at work, for sure. If I felt any negativity sometimes, and we all get frustrated. I mean, every day is, a surprise in a way. No day is ever the same at work, but it comes from this sort of competitiveness. It's very hard to step back and just get perspective on a minute by minute basis. I self-reflect. I do. I make sure that I go back and have that open conversation and chat with my colleague about what happened in order to deal with it and move forward and learn something from it as well. Because I think it's so important to maintain good relationships at work, collaboration. And a part of that is also sharing with colleagues how to work with me. So it's not just always an expectation from others to give me things. It's also what can I give people in order to create a really good working environment. But I do feel a lot sometimes is that it does come down to also expectations from people. I look very young for my age, and that's a natural human thing. You walk into a room and someone straight away makes a judgment of you. What are you wearing? What do you look like? How do you carry yourself? Things like that. So I would just like to hear your perspective and experiences of the work environment that you've been working in. Considering it's also very male dominated.
So I think what you said is absolutely right. Now, after 27 plus years experience, I've become thick-skinned in some aspects, but I do reflect on the old me. You get to a point in your career where you become in this defense mode, and then that phase kind of subsides and you start to see things more clearly and understand that businesses and companies are built up by human beings and you're working with human beings. So the human psychology aspect is very important. And the fundamental difference between a man and a woman and how we do it, they are fundamental differences of how we approach things. Even if you look at home with partners or brothers, sisters, there are similarities in the way we handle some things, but we are very different in the application, even male, female. So you have to take the time to understand that if at home, for example, with your inner circle, friends and family, you take some steps to reflect or be sensitive to others or take the time to understand the other person and them understanding you so that you can find a common ground, I don't think a work is any different. And in fact, we spend a lot more time at work, but we come away a lot of the time, depending on the industry, not knowing anything about those people we work with. Sometimes our colleagues leave home and they leave with an issue or they have maybe something going on in the background and all you do is face off with them in a meeting. And you might be in that moment feeling very empowered and very fine. And you don't consider what that person might be going through. And you just think, he's out to get me or she's out to get me. I'm going to get them first, or I'm not going to take this disrespect. So taking a moment to understand that this is a person, this is an individual, and there's a human psychology. And the bad ones, I must say, the bad ones, you can go after them the same way they go after you. I think there is a cultural element because, for example, growing up in the UK, it's very difficult to challenge people face on. There's a lot of diplomacy that goes around challenging people. So again, we go back to the psychology and the social construct, the culture. You have to, if you're working somewhere, you've got to make the time to understand and find a middle ground. I think definitely it's very important to get to a place where you build your confidence as a woman or as a man. By the way, working in the water industry with engineers is where I've literally turned my professional character around, and I gained a lot of confidence. Considering I'm a fish out of water, I'm with engineers, and these are very clever people. These are no nonsense people, and it's high stake projects, but it's the place where I built my confidence at work in that field, because I learned to be less sensitive in situations. I learned that if you've got a problem, follow the channels of addressing it. And then at the end of the day, once it's addressed, we move on. It doesn't linger. It doesn't become personal. There is no she said, he said, all of those sort of things that I experienced when I was young. All of that goes out the door. There's a book by this guy, Steve Harvey, this American comedian. I think he was talking about relationships between men and women. And I think the title was Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man, something like that. And this is what was happening to me in the engineering, consulting, construction field. I started to think and behave like a guy, act like a female, because they respect that. A lot of guys respect us and our femininity and respect women in the workplace. We can't generalize everyone, but I'm talking about the guys I've experienced. You've got to communicate with them in a language and in behaviors they understand. And they have to also emulate the same. They have to use language that I can understand so that we can end up working well together. For the best part, it worked well together, but when it was bad, it was bad. I'm not going to lie. With some guys, if they challenge me in a way that I felt is unfair, and I tested it with multiple individuals, and I've learned this is at work, I would say, this is what happened to the best of my ability. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember word for word what happened. From your perspective, this is what I said. I try to be as fair in relaying what the other person said and what I said, even though sometimes when we relay our perspective, we might miss things that I'm embarrassed to say, blah, blah, blah. But I try to be fair and get a perspective from people who are my mentors, my colleagues who are friends at work. And I go, am I being unfair? This is how I feel. Am I being unfair? And once I hear those things, I make a determination of what my next course of action is. But there have been certain situations where I've realized that the guys who challenge unfairly have an issue fundamentally with their confidence. It's not my confidence. They're trying to break down my confidence. And then I started to reflect in my career from when I was young. And it was all about my confidence and my belief in myself. And that imposter syndrome that a lot of women experience and a lot of women know about it. This need to make ourselves feel like we're not good enough. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. It's my fault. And then I started to build my confidence. And I realized that if someone challenges you unfairly, you've got to understand their psyche and where they are with their confidence.
I also think it's about not understanding our power as well. Again, it comes back to us downplaying ourselves and not really realizing how much power we do have over others and how we project ourselves.
And again, I have to remind you, Abda, that what I'm talking about here is averages. And this is my experience. We're not talking about everybody because I haven't met everyone, even in my company, let alone everyone else. I'm just talking about my experience of the people or the segment of people that I'm choosing to reflect on throughout our conversation. And it's very important to realize that, I realized that what I put in has a lot of impact on what comes out and comes back to me as an experience. And what I put in is I'm not just talking physically, but I'm talking about mental and emotional investments that I make. And the physical investments I make can be with words or actions, etc. So I have to consider all of those things. And now I'm in a place where I make a lot of considerations and I always ask myself, what's the return on this investment? What's the emotional investment and the mental investment I'm making? What is the return? And a lot of the time I find there are some things that as an early 20s, starting in my career, Randa would have taken to heart and maybe would have thought about it and felt terrible for days and days and days and felt I'm not good enough and I'm not right for this and I'm a terrible person. Now I just go, Your problem, not mine. And that constant trade-off, and our male colleagues, I want to link it back to what I started in saying, is our male colleagues, the ones that we might see industries where there is more male colleagues, I've realized also that I need to go to them and ask them to support me and how I can support them in return. Everything is a trade-off. I don't know what you think about this.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think this leads really well into this intersection between confidence and getting ahead at work.
I can tell you that I've realized that my power is in developing skills associated with leadership. And I see leadership different to management. I know a lot of people see that, and it's a science that people study. But I aspire to be a leader. And this is the point where I got to in my career, that I am learning leadership skills. And, I started off by saying it's a learning curve that never ends. It really doesn't end, and it shouldn't end. Think about it this way. If we stop learning, that things will pass us by and we will be left behind. So I have to keep picking up, especially now with technology and everything else that's going on. You have no option but to keep updating yourself. So I think it's important to keep moving with the time and changing and reinventing yourself. I don't think it should be something that scares us at all. So I'm trying to become a strong leader every day. And for me, I understand being a leader is no longer about me being in the center of it. This is about me. I want to be in control like a manager and manage people. And I want people to do what I want. And, they have to reach the level of understanding or performance that I need from them. I understand leadership and decipher it as I empower you to become the best leader yourself, to lead your success so that you can lead the team's success and lead my success. So I come at the end. Once I flip that around on its head, that came with me being confident in myself, understanding what is meant for me, where I'm going to go. I'm going to pursue that and I'm going to get to it. I don't have to compete with you, Abda, or I don't have to destroy you or take you out of the competition. In order for you to succeed, and you succeeding, you're part of my network or part of my team, that's immediately going to mean I'm going to go a step ahead in where I'm going to go in my success plan. I did a lot of work mentally and emotionally to give myself that inner peace that I can reach from A to B to C to D. I've got the competence, I've got the confidence, I've got the intelligence, I've got the abilities. And it took a lot of work to get to this place where I have this inner peace and incredible confidence in what I'm going to be able to achieve. So that means, Abda, that I have no issues in empowering you. It actually gives me a lot of pleasure in empowering you because I'm at a point in my career where I can see a direct relationship between your success and the person next to you and my success. And I truly believe and get joy now in passing some whatever little knowledge, because then I reflect on those people I mentioned at the beginning who until today, and they have no idea probably how much they have impacted my career and impacted me as a person. There's an innate feeling that I don't see colleagues as competition. I know what I can bring to the table.
And then we come back to full circle, as in all of these experiences and practicing self-awareness, recognizing your strengths and owning them, using affirmative language, speaking with conviction, and then seeking out support and surrounding yourself with people. All of this is what's helped really embed this confidence in you and helping you realize that you have this confidence. These are really, really great tips. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your experiences.
Yeah, Abda, I started naturally this discussion with talking about psychology because it's at the heart of this topic. It's at the heart of what we're talking about. You could sit here over the next few hours saying to me, Randa, you're great. You should be confident. You should be happy with yourself. You should be. And I might walk away going to you at the end saying, yeah, I'm going to think about it. Oh, yes, you're right. I'm going to be confident. Now I'm going to do these amazing things. And then you and I part ways and I'm going to be left with myself. And then my inner voice is going to say to me, Randa, you're not confident. you lied to Abda actually to make her feel better. Not going to get anywhere. You silly girl. You don't have the expertise. You don't have the experience. That job is too difficult for you. And then I'm just going to take myself right back down to where you found me. So if I don't have the inner voice, the confidence to give myself a prep talk, believe in myself, I don't care how many people tell me, and I'm talking about myself, Randa. And I was blessed in having sisters and actually brothers and loads of people around me and colleagues at work and managers at one point or another. They are the ones who are saying to me, God, you're so amazing. And I go, what are they looking at? Like they're lying to me. What are they seeing? I don't see it. Until I got to the point where I started to think about my psyche and I started to fix this here, up here, my head. I started to fix my own mental health, my brain, the way it feels about me. Then I started to see I'm a strong contender. I actually started to realize it's my confidence that made others feel unempowered. They felt insecure. The people who challenged me unfairly or tried to take me out of the competition, they were feeling insecure about me. So a lot of women are great multitaskers, actually. We've got great organizational skills and we're very brave. We have a lot of natural abilities that allow us to be good at what we do. And think about it this way. They say that this imposter syndrome, and I'm paraphrasing here, us women, when we look at a job, we want to know that we can do this job 100+%. Yeah. And I've tested this. I've seen this in discussions with my male colleagues going for jobs. And this is so true. At least I've experienced it in myself. I would not go for the job unless I know that I can do it 160%. Forget 100%. I want to know that I can go above and beyond in order to go for the interview. My male colleagues, they're going for jobs and I go, but this sounds very difficult. They're like, oh, I'll give it a go. And one colleague said to me, I was so shocked. This young guy, he was going for his very senior job, and he said something along the lines of, I'll learn on the job. I'm like, what? You go to the interview and you don't know the skills and you will be open to getting the job and learning on the job? He said, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another level of confidence.
I'm a fast learner.
Yeah, but I mean, also that would take a little bit of through the interview process. If you have integrity, then that also plays a key part in why you wouldn't do that to get the job beyond your skill set, right? Yeah.
And you sat in interviews and I sat in interviews. And when I was younger, I interviewed 3 people for this role. And I wanted the genuine guy because I felt one of the guys who the HR team wanted was a and I said, no, absolutely not. This guy is a liar. And they were like, why wouldn't you want to work with someone who's so confident in themselves and brings their best foot forward? And I said, but he was blagging. And they said something along the lines where he can get himself out of difficult situations or something. They turned it around into something positive.
That's shocking.
But I wanted the honest people who know what they're doing.
Absolutely, because that also feeds into the team's working culture and things like that. Of course, you're looking for certain skills, but also values and how are they going to contribute? How are they going to work out with their colleagues? You know what I mean? But I just want to circle back at that setting boundaries and taking credit for your work is also key. I think confidence grows when you protect your energy and you own your contribution. But anyway, Coffee Confessions. It's where we basically tackle a real workplace scenario. And I would love to get your perspective on this one. It's a woman in her mid-30s. She's just been promoted to a leadership role. She's excited, but she's getting constant pushback basically from her male colleagues. They undermine her authority. They're very passive aggressive. They say things like, are you sure about that? Let's see how this works out, etc., etc. What advice would you give to someone in a situation like that? How could she handle the situations confidently, assert her authority without second guessing herself?
I think this is a scenario that we pretty much discussed, right? She has to understand that she is making the team that she's leading insecure. There's a psychology element to the way they are treating her. In the past, what I did, I was in a similar situation. I kind of studied, air quotes, the personalities in the team. There are some personalities that I felt I could take them aside and have a conversation with them privately. There has to be that level of assessment of a situation. And depending on the sector and industry, for example, in construction industry in the UK, it was appreciated being open and honest with your feelings. So I've exercised that successfully, I have to say. What I would do and have done in the past is put yourself in the back foot. You're already a leader of a team. You're already in a position of authority, power. So you're the one who have to make yourself small a little bit to empower, because leadership is about empowering people who work with you. It's not about managing them and getting them to do what you want. It's about inspiring them. And it's about supporting them, and it's about influencing them positively. So all of this comes from you. You have to do all of this mental, emotional support as a leader, because it's not about you. It's about them being empowered. You've got to find a way of empowering them. So she has to make the effort to understand how she can build those bridges with the different individuals. There are some individuals that I found don't like the one-to-one experience. There are some people who you have a private word with, and then all of a sudden you find that private word is made public and changed to suit a particular narrative. So sometimes I address things in a group, and sometimes as a team together, addressing a topic. You don't point the finger in specific people, but as a group deal with a topic. So I used to open the topic in the group. You guys, I'm finding this is my experience working with you, What is your experience working with me? Here's your chance. We've got some issues. I'd like to deal with them. So you kind of take the high road as a leader so that you can come back down and get to the bottom of things and help resolve them. I don't think as a leader, it suits for you to take what these team members are saying or doing as an excuse to run away and hide. I think you've got to face it head on, but understand it's not about you being wrong or did anything wrong or lack confidence or not good at the job. You're in this position because there is one thing at least you bring to the table. So improve that one thing you bring to the table and multiply it by 10 by exercising very strong leadership skills in understanding that you make others feel insecure in your position. So how do you go and empower them and get them in your corner?
Absolutely. And different individuals need to be led in different ways and managed in different ways.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you for that. That completely makes sense. And also there are some resources and tools to help leaders in that position, or even if you are not in a position of authority, but maybe you're leading by knowledge. You're the most senior expert in your team and your colleagues look up to you, or you need to drive a project. So even though you don't have that leader title, as in people actually reporting to you, you might be a leader in a different way. So leading technically. There are tools, there are personal development and confidence building tools like Better Up. It's a coaching platform which connects professionals with the certified coaches. There's something called Mind Tools. It offers a variety of articles. And then, of course, there's networking and support communities. If you're looking for leadership and career development resources, there's LinkedIn Learning. There's podcasts for unfiltered stories and practical tools, just like this one. So there are a lot of tools designed to help build confidence and navigate professional challenges and embrace power unapologetically.
Yeah. And Abda, we can't forget the traditional in your work sphere, find mentors. And that worked for me. These guys that I've talked about across the discussion, they're mentors, they're sponsors that have helped me progress in my career. So I used to reach out, like I told you, circle of professional work colleagues, friends, managers who I saw as my mentors. And in fact, I have gone away, and from every job that I left, I have a manager whom I consider a friend. They're actually in my friend network. And I still meet them when I go back to London. I reach out to them. They can tell you from their perspective how to deal with things. And of course, we have the resources in company. In instances where I felt this situation needs to be escalated, I escalated it to the HR team, and it was dealt with in accordance with due process. Do not get scared or shy away, because once you understand you're not that person who's not good enough. You're not an imposter. You're in this job for a reason. You're in this job because you bring something to the table. You're a strong contender. You're a strong competitor. You are a strong team player. So once you understand you have a right to be there, you have a place at this table, whatever table it is in the corner, whatever it is, you've earned your right to be in that position. So you have to seek the support of the organization to help you succeed. I think that's one thing we don't do. We don't go and ask for help and support, but not help in crying and no, they hate me. And, use the language that the person on the other side of the table is able to connect with you on so that they can give you the support or tell them exactly what you need.
Yes, and leverage the tools that are there to help support you. Thanks again, Randa. Final words?
Yes, thank you for the final word. First, I'd say thanks for the discussion. To allow this dialogue that gives insights to individual experience is very important. At the time when I was coming up in my career, no one talked about anything. If I were to give any type of reminder or empower anyone with this conversation, is the importance of leadership skills and the meaning of being a strong leader. And that is to empower others around you and empowering young people. I should have mentioned that another thing that I found very inspiring in the recent years is starting my own social enterprise that is focused solely on leadership development of young people in Sudan, which is where I'm from. And I learn a lot from talking to young people and their experiences also. So I grow a lot by listening to others, allows me to reflect on myself, which has helped me along that journey of gaining my confidence. I would say if I were to leave a few words is for every single one of us who is in a position to empower others, think about your leadership style. Think about how you impact someone else's experience at work and think about how you might impact their career development or their journey. So consider your leadership, definitely.
Thank you. Very inspiring work and very inspiring words. I just want to say also that confidence is not about being loud or perfect. It's about owning your power and showing up as your authentic self. So to all the women listening, stop apologizing for your confidence. Instead, celebrate it, use it to advocate for yourself, inspire others, and make your mark in whatever field you're in. Thanks again, Randa, for sharing your wisdom and stories. Your insights remind us that confidence isn't just a skill, it's a mindset we can cultivate. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow Your Last Potato for more insights and advice on building your career capital. Share your own stories of unapologetic confidence with us via our website. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep growing, keep thriving, and most importantly, keep showing up unapologetically.